Hey, I wanted to talk about greed in this video. Greed's always been around, but during these times it's on display ever more. It's more visible than ever before, and it's maddening. It's absolutely maddening, at least for me. You know, before this pandemic hit, or rather right at the outset of it, one of my first thoughts as I saw everything closed down and shutters being drawn and businesses being closed and factories going on special work hours or reduced to work hours. One of the first thoughts I had was, oh great, the prices are going to go up. There are going to be shortages and the prices are going to go up. And sure enough, we've already seen shortages and there are more shortages coming, and the prices are definitely going up. And I'm telling you, it's all about greed. This is not about the distribution chain. This is about greed. Because proof has come out that this sort of an event was planned years ago. At the EU, at high levels in the EU, they were talking about this sort of an event, and they were scheduling certain steps or certain milestones that need to be hit, so that certain agendas need to be implemented. And I posted screenshots from that on my Facebook page. But honestly, I don't think any of you who are listening to this video need any sort of proof, further proof, because you've had enough proof come out in the past year and some to show you that this kind of stuff was planned out years ahead, and agendas were written down and they're now being implemented. And one of those agendas involves driving up the prices, creating inflation, ridiculous amounts of inflation, and driving up the prices, squeezing people dry. It's amazing. You've also perhaps seen those statistics that showed per total, just rough figures, rough estimate of how much money the working classes have lost, right? The middle classes and the working classes, you know, the working schmoes, the ones that are actually pulling their weight and keeping the economies going. Ridiculous amounts of money. And yet what was more striking is the even greater and more ridiculous amounts of money that the billionaires of the world made during this whole crisis. And you can look at it as one of two ways, one of many ways. I'm sure you can look at it, but you can look at it this way, say, oh, they had great money managers. Look at them. Those people knew exactly what to do and managed their money well, and now they have more money. Wish I had a money manager like that. That's one way to look at it. Another way to look at it is these fuckers knew exactly what was going to happen, and they planned out their finances ahead of time to make sure they made money. Not just broke even, but make money. And you can also look at it another way. No matter who's managing your money, no matter what you're doing with it and how well it's doing, when the rest of the world is suffering and is losing money and is being kicked out of their homes or being made to go beg to various government agencies just to be forgiven a few mortgage payments or rent payments, being locked in their homes, it's not ethical to make ungodly amounts of money. At least the money that you make, part of it, donate it. Use it to rebuild communities, or redistribute it among your workers, the ones that are losing money, or find a way to somehow give back if you're making ridiculous amounts of money when the rest of the world is crashing down. But no. These fuckers just took the money while the rest of the world burned. Meanwhile, we're all arguing about shit like CRT and all the other stupid agendas that are being pushed on us to divide us and stop us from uniting. We're arguing about that shit, and we're arguing about some election where a controlled opposition somehow lost the election and the other controlled party won the election. I mean, it's so pointless. All of this shit is just a huge distraction from the fact that most of the world is suffering, and most of the world has been swindled by this whole event, worldwide event. And so I'm sure you've seen food prices go up right during the pandemic. That was nice, wasn't it? I'm sure they have tons of reasons for this. Yeah, no, it's a distribution chain, supply chain, it's testing, it's lockdowns, it's whatever. As if nature somehow stopped producing the food, right? As if animals gave a shit about the pandemic or this flu virus that's going around. So not just food prices, water prices. Can you imagine water prices going up during a pandemic, whatever the fuck it's called? Can you imagine that? For us, for example, in our town, the water prices went up 30%. 30%. Right at the start of the year. 30%. Property taxes went up because, hey, properties, they have to pay their taxes. Not only that, but they have to pay more taxes. Why not? Wood prices went up, right? They went up ridiculous amounts in the States. Blamed on distribution chains, right? And now they're starting to go up here in Romania. I don't know what they're going to blame it on, but because everybody's been churning out wood and they've been clear cutting forests here in Romania, and trains, huge trains loaded with logs have been just going left and right out of our country. Huge trucks also pounding all of our roads with huge trees, all during the pandemic. But somehow there's going to be a crisis of wood, and prices are going to go up here now as well. I've heard estimates that say anywhere from 200% to 250% in terms of the price of wood. Ain't that grand? The price of tools is going up. The price of electricity is going up. The price of natural gas is going up. The price of gasoline and diesel fuel is going up. The price of housing is ridiculously high. And it's in just unbelievable amount of rampant greed in the world. I mean, at least for me, I can see it now so much more than I saw it before. It's like the fuckers that run the world have lost all sense of decency. Not that they ever had any, but at least before, they were pretending to have some, They would increase the prices, but it would be a little bit every year. They would boil us slowly like frogs. But now they're just going nuts, hog wild. blowing up the prices on everything and somehow expecting people to come up with the money. From where? I don't know. It's insane. Hey, here's an example that's gonna make you feel all nice and cozy inside. It's from the power company here in Romania. They're called Electrica, Electrica, here in southern Transylvania. What they did to me a month ago is they sent me an inflated bill, more than 2 times, something like 2.5 times my typical bill. And I knew I didn't consume that electricity. I knew because I monitor my electricity consumption closely. I've updated everything in the house to LEDs. I still have a few CFLs, like the lights running here right now for the filming, they're CFLs. But I also have an LED light, and then the rest of the bulbs in here are LEDs. And everything is ridiculously efficient in my house. Nothing wastes electricity, nothing. And I know exactly what my consumption is. I also have a smart meter that I use to monitor, not the one from the power company, but I have one that I use that monitors my consumption. And I know exactly what I'm consuming. I'm always trying to find ways to tone it down because electricity is expensive. So they sent me this bill that was 2.5 times the amount that I typically get. And I called them, I contacted them. I said, hey, what's going on? I didn't spend this much. I didn't use this much electricity. And their argument was, well, that's what the meter read, and so that's what we billed you. I said, yeah, I know that's what the meter read. I can see the meter myself, but that's not what I used. So what's going on? Can you please investigate the meter? Look at it, see if something's gone wrong with it. See if maybe the fuses, the power of the meter or the fuses that distribute the power to the house have gone bad. Maybe there's something seepage in there. Maybe it's seeping into the ground line. Who knows what's going on? Something's not right because I didn't use that electricity. I wouldn't have an issue paying for a bill that I generated. If I'm going to spend that much electricity, then yeah, it's fine. I'll pay for it. But I didn't use it. And they didn't want to investigate further. They sent a couple guys to just do another meter reading. Mind you, these are trained employees that can actually open up the meter, they can open up the whole box, and they can look inside, see what's going on. They didn't care for it. And I could see it on their faces that they were lying to me, as if they had a company line that they needed to hold, and they couldn't tell me the truth. But they knew what the truth was, and they couldn't tell me. So, yeah. This is where I am right now with this, and it's pissing the hell out of me because I know they're cheating me out of money, and I'm sure they're probably cheating other people as well. I think they're doing it. It's what happened here with me. It's 2 things. One, the box where the meter is housed isn't waterproofed properly. At least they didn't care to close it properly. There's a little gap. So when it rains heavily, water gets in there and accumulates on the inside of the case. So if it accumulates on the inside of the case to the point where I can't even see the meter, then I know that it also accumulates on the meter and on the fuses. Sometimes they drop and pop down and I have to put them back up. And I also looked at it and I saw that there's rust coming out of the fuses in there, the circuit breakers. So I know that water got inside the fuses, and I'm thinking it probably went right into the ground line and seeped into the ground, and I paid for it, Somehow the whole installation inside that sealed box that I can't get into because they sealed it. They have a seal on it. I can't break it to get in to see what's going on. I'm thinking That's what happened. The installation got messed up, got water in it, and now it's not working properly, and I'm being charged for stuff I'm not using, for electricity that I'm not really using. And the second thing that I think is happening, and this is probably happening on a great scale, but mind you, this is just a hypothesis. This is a theory. I don't have proof of this because I can't actually open the box. It's sealed, and I can't open up the meter to look at it because I'm not I don't know enough about electronics to actually verify this, but it's a hunch from an IT guy, right? I can open up computers and work on them, but I don't know how to open up these other things. So, do you know those devices that were popular a few years ago, but now not so much, where you could transmit your home network signal over the power lines inside your house? Netgear used to make them. A bunch of other manufacturers used to make them. And the way it worked is you plug the line into your router, a network line, then you plugged another line into a device that plugged into one of the plugs in your wall, and that device then transmitted the Ethernet, the home network signal, through your home's electrical wiring, and then you had a receiver that you could plug into any outlet in the house, and it would pair up with a transmitter, and then you'd get a network connection that way. And that receiver also had a network plug that you could plug a network wire into and stick it into your computer. And that's the way that worked. And I'm thinking, this is just a hypothesis again, but I'm thinking, hey, if that can happen over the electrical wiring in the home, where something could be transmitting a signal through the electrical wiring simply by inducing small changes in the frequency of the current, because that's what's happening with that, then what's stopping them from transmitting the same small changes in the frequency of the current that they feed onto people's houses, and the current that goes into these meters that they have, and then those meters have a little chip in there or some sort of circuitry that interprets that and then somehow jacks up the usage. Somehow the counter goes bad, right? Because they're electronic meters. Somehow something happens and the usage goes up. Because for years now, even before I had the meter, the separate meter that I installed in our cellar where the current comes in, even before that, I just knew that I was being charged more every month for electricity, more than I was using. Sometimes it was maybe 30% more, sometimes only 20% or 10%, but I just knew because I know how much I'm using. I know that I was being charged more. Sometimes I'd sit down and calculate the power usage of every one of the appliances and count up the wattage used by the bulbs that we typically use. And I'd come up with a total, and it was smaller than what they charged me for. But you can never use that line of reasoning with them because what they'll tell you, well, you're not using a meter that's checked by the government or this national association. They're called ANRE in Romania here. Some kind of an organization from the government that regulates, or used to regulate, electricity prices, and also has a department that checks these meters for accuracy before they're sent out to customers. But if you're using that kind of technology where you can communicate with a meter right through the electrical wiring after they're installed and after they're checked, what's stopping you from changing the way the meter counts the electricity usage at any time, or from resetting it at any time back to its typical usage? And I have no way of checking this. So I'm talking about all this because I'm curious if some of you have the ability to check this. And if you do, find a way to check your meters, because you might be getting gypped on a monthly basis using this method. But anyway, back to greed, because this was really about greed. I went into this tangent, but it was related to the topic. of greed. It's rampant. I don't know how to put it. It's rampant, and it's infuriating to see so much greed in the world. All of the prices are going up unjustifiably because those factories that were closed opened up quickly right after they were closed, and workers got to work pretty hard to make up for the time lost. You know, anybody who follows the news with a critical eye will tell you that it's not the distribution chain, it's not the logistics of it. These are induced crises, these are induced shortages. They're there for two reasons: to drive up prices and to fulfill whatever agenda is in play. And it's so disgusting. So disgusting. This is the kind of stuff that makes you want to actually physically do something about it, you know? It's just so infuriating. When you're being, you know, I hate being swindled. I really hate it. This is what this is. It's a big swindle. But it's not only a big swindle, it's a big brazen swindle. We're being openly and brazenly swindled. It's so fucked up. And I'm so pissed about it. Not just about the whole power shit. Because, by the way, what do you think I did today? I was up on the roof of our house installing supports for photovoltaic panels, solar panels. Yeah. I wasn't just going to sit by and be screwed. I'm not going to bend over, grab my ankles like so many other people. If the power company is swindling me, fine. I'm going to install solar panels. I already have inverter. I already have batteries. I'm going to try to survive without them. So that's what I'm going to do. But it's not right, man. You know, I may have the ability to install solar panels. Not on a whim, because this is a huge purchase and we planned it out. We've been talking about it, my wife and I, for years. Should we put solar panels up? Should we not put solar panels up? And it's been a purchase that's been months in the making right now when we decided to do it. We actually decided on just a backup first, just inverter and batteries, to have a backup in case the power goes out. We have something that can tide us over for a few days. Because we'd heard all about all these magnetic events that are happening because of the sun. The CMEs, they're causing fluctuations in the power grid and could actually take it down if they're strong enough. So we wanted to have a bit of a backup. So what we did now, when we were swindled by the power companies, we purchased solar panels. But you know, not everybody has the ability to do this. And God damn it, it's not right to swindle people like this. It's really not right. And it pisses me off. So, this is not a very hopeful video, I'm sorry. It's, there's no hope here. If this kind of crap continues, the only thing that'll solve it is bringing the major player to justice and executing them publicly, you know, to set an example. They have to be brought to justice, and we have to band together as people, as nations, and demand a stop to this nonsense. I'm sick and tired of people being blood dry. I'm sick and tired of a world where You can't enjoy the fruits of your labor. Where products are made to not last and they get more expensive every day, where utility bills get more expensive, where housing gets more expensive, where taxes get larger and bigger and stingier, where everything gets more expensive, cars, college, travel, everything, hospitalization, surgery, medical treatments, drugs, you name it, it all gets more expensive. And in the meantime, we're all being asked to take less in pay by the various companies we work for. Thank God I have my own company, but I still have to ask myself to take less in pay because I make less because of all the shit that goes on in the world. And it's such a horrible, horrible way to treat people. You cannot actually lead an honest life in this world and enjoy the fruits of your labor because governments steal it from you. Corporations steal it from you. Bankers steal it from you. You're continually forced to change your strategy. You're continually forced to adapt to harsher conditions, to being swindled more and more, to being cheated out of more and more of your money, to the point where it's just fucking maddening. You're trying to lead an honest and correct, hardworking life, and you cannot do it. Not in this world. And it's really fucked up. It's really fucked up. Sorry, this is not a hopeful video, but that's what I have to say. Yeah. All right, thanks for watching. Till next time.